Dear Mom and Dad, I'm writing this about a month away from the day I was supposed to graduate from college. I thought that by now I'd have everything figured out. I'd have a job lined up, full financial independence, and a roadmap for the next few years as I eventually produce and develop my first of hopefully many feature films, working in the indie scene outside of any metropolitan hub in the place that I've called home all my life. But it's like the world has suddenly stood still. I feel like I'm drowning in place. I'm not happy with myself. I feel an overbearing weight on my shoulders to be better than I am, but I know I don't have the tools necessary to get where I want to be. It feels like everything is outside of my control. I feel this a lot, and recently I did what I usually do when I'm looking for pure escapism. I rewatched the entirety of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've seen the show all the way through no less than 10 times, and as I've grown older, I've managed to get something different out of it each time. When I first saw it as it aired, I was 7 years old. I was immediately sucked in by more than just the incomparable action set pieces and the goofy humor, but just how expansive and lived in the world was. The entire framing device of a man out of time tied the world together so organically. I saw 100 years worth of different cultures develop, learn from each other, or branch apart. I saw for the first time as an aspiring writer how world building didn't just have to mean backstory. It was the first time I wanted to actually live in a fictional world. I feel like I understood the ins and outs of water tribe culture like I'd grown up there myself. I studied not just the bending styles, but how each nation's movements were an extension of their beliefs. Earthbending required willpower, fortitude. Firebending was tied to liveliness and haste. Waterbending was serenity and free-spiritedness, and so on. I had tried to waterbend countless times as a kid, but obviously to no avail. I thought I just wasn't inherently gifted with it. In a sense, I was right. See upon my last rewatch that blind awe, that appreciation for the show as a work of art was stripped away. In a particular grueling rut, where I felt like everyone around me had managed to climb out already, I put the show on once again. And I cried. I saw these characters I thought I knew so well, how they had changed over the course of their worldwide journey, and realized just how much they really didn't. The show's format required some element of standaloneness, for sure, mainly for the casual audiences watching week to week, forcing the writers to push our heroes' growth in littler ways, in ways that changed them internally, rather than externally. Sokka may have seemed like the same carefree, jokey, boomerang guy by the finale as he was in the pilot, but I saw him master the art of the sword by thinking like Sokka. And I saw him step up and lead the invasion during the Day of Black Sun, in a way totally different than his father would have done. He unlocked something in himself that was clearly always there. So much of the heart of the show isn't in what characters do, it's about the brief moments in between that reveals someone's self-described inadequacies. That's when I started to see how these characters truly came into an understanding of themselves. At the risk of sounding cheesy, yes, what they were looking for was inside themselves all along. There's a lot of that goes unaddressed, but in the passive experience of sitting and watching 60 episodes, not 61 because we will always skip the Great Divide, there's a lot of time for me to think, to empathize. I see myself in Toph, refusing to accept outside help, proving myself in spite of my shortcomings. But I learned to step outside of myself, and at least open up to others' advice and guidance. I see myself in Aang, as someone who puts themselves in the shadow of others that came before me. I find myself postponing the inevitable in fear of finding out what that may be. His journey taught me the importance of commitment, perseverance, and a spiritual communion with the world. Understanding the thoughts and actions of those around me can help me better navigate my own life. I see myself in Katara, holding myself back because of ghosts in my past. Embarrassment, shame, they sit with me and dictate what friendships, relationships, and opportunities I might pursue. But I learned from her that acceptance of your pain doesn't mean completely ridding yourself of it. It's healthy to grieve, and, like a true waterbender, go with the flow. Like I mentioned already, I see a lot of myself in Sokka. Not only as someone who walls themselves off with humor in order to soften any blow should I fail at my goals, But going along with that, I compare myself to others and their specific talents, how mine aren't as polished, and how that makes me feel inadequate. But through every new invention or battle strategy, I saw how his uniqueness was what made him a valuable member of Team Avatar. He didn't have to prove himself to anyone except himself. But lastly, I see myself most in Zuko. I completely empathize with him throughout his journey, which seems to be a culmination of all my shortcomings. Driven by standards and goals outside my control, quick to anger and frustration, closing myself off from help, refusing to accept my past mistakes and move on. I find myself stuck in a constant state of non-complacence. No matter where I stand, I can't seem to get content. And therefore, what I truly need is shrouded behind this veil of what I believe that I want. I see Iroh as a sort of insert character from my friends and family, reacting to Zuko's mistakes how anyone in my life might to my own. Zuko's journey was one filled with empathy and perspective. This is a show about understanding oneself, our relationships with the world, digging within yourself and your own experiences to reach bigger and better heights. I learned from this children's cartoon show that when stuck at a crossroads of my destiny, there's a yin to every yang. Everything from the moon and ocean spirits to the new bending techniques learned by studying the different nations. I must know that inner conflict and states of unrest are necessary to both accept and learn from moments of prosperity. They will ebb and flow like the tides. Knowing your impatience with most movies and TV shows that I recommend you, I tried to cut down the show to ensure you made it to the end. I only had the heart to cut maybe 5 episodes, and the essential ones, my personal favorites, comprised a third of the total episodes. There was just so much about the show that I adored for different reasons. However, when I stopped to categorize the episodes, I realized just how very few of the actual plot-heavy elements were among my favorites. The beach, the puppet master, the storm, Zuko alone, the Southern Raiders. Large sections of these episodes dedicated solely to an understanding of oneself, and bending or the spirits as an extension of that. I prayed all of Season 1 that you'd have the patience to get through the penguin sledding and the one-off adventures so that you'd eventually reach the same catharsis I did watching Zuko reunite with Iroh, receiving his unconditional love and forgiveness after he felt like he'd gone too far and lost his way. I'm still so giddy from the times I looked over and saw your jaws genuinely dropped in shock at Azula wounding Iroh, Long Fang's reveal, Zuko's sudden turn against his uncle at the crossroads of destiny, or the failure at the Day of Black Sun, or the utter joy you felt watching the Ember Island players because you knew those characters. Those were just some of the moments that initially had me invested in the action and the story, but it's the moments in between that make this a show about people. People who have real fears, weaknesses, insecurities that hold them back. And despite this, they step up. Although I knew what was coming when Zuko confronted his father during the eclipse, he didn't. He'd just made his choice and was going to see it through. About 3 years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Dante Bosco, the voice of Zuko, and having a discussion with him about what personally impacted him most about the show, it being the first Agni Kai between Zuko and his father. Hearing him speak the same way about the show that I'm doing right now was the ultimate moment of catharsis for me. It was me interacting with someone who had not only been a major part of my childhood, but someone who gave life to a character that I saw so much of myself in. It was like I had finally come face to face with the version of myself who had everything figured out. And then, as the icing on the cake, he read his self-written Zutara poetry.
I'll never change the fact that you changed my life forever. Zutara.
Every time I watch this show, I gain some new awareness of my inner self. It gives me a peace of mind to do what I need to do, and I'm reminded that I should reach outside of myself if I'm ever going to unlock my full potential. So regardless of whether you still call Sokka Zuko or call Zuko Krinko, I hope you can now think of me and them. I hope that my refusal to always be completely open and vulnerable about my own inadequacies can be fixed by this, by you associating the show with me and understanding what exactly I take out of it. I learned from the show that I don't need to wait for things to go my way. I'm fully capable as myself to make happen what I want to make happen. I love you both so much, and I will forever appreciate your kindness, open-mindedness, resilience, and willingness to support me in everything that I do. And I'm sorry if I don't acknowledge that enough. I'm also sorry that I hold myself back out of fear. But some of my greatest teachers come out of this silly cartoon show, and they show me it's okay to accept what life throws at me. More importantly, how to find the strength to face it head on.
Nozuko, you must never give in to despair. Allow yourself to slip down that road and you surrender to your lowest instincts.
My father decided to teach me a permanent lesson on my face.
Was to teach you respect.
Once I deliver the avatar to my father, he will welcome me home with honor and restore my rightful place on the throne.
Ever since I lost my son, I think of you as my own. It's time for you to look inward and begin asking yourself the big questions. Who are you? And what do you want?
Perfect, right? I should be happy now, but I'm not. I'm angrier than ever and I don't know why.
Hope is something you give yourself. That is the meaning of inner strength.
My uncle hates me, I know it. He loved me and supported me in every way he could. And I still turned against him. I'm so sorry, Uncle. I am so sorry and ashamed of what I did. I don't know how I can ever make it up to you, but How can you forgive me so easily? I thought you would be furious with me.
I was never angry with you. I was sad because I was afraid you lost your way.
I did lose my way.
But you found it again. And you did it by yourself. And I'm so happy you found your way here.